So hello everyone and welcome to this week's Alertus Power Lunch, User Management and Alertus Console Customization. My name is Sarah and I'm a trainer here at Alertus, and I'm also joined by Brooke, another trainer who will be leading the session today. And during this session, we will walk you through the process of updating user roles and assigning restrictions, allowing you to tailor each individual's permissions in the Alertus console to fit their unique needs. Plus, we'll also dive into how to modify Alertus Console settings to apply system-wide changes that enhance your organization's alerting capabilities. And this is an interactive session as always, so please feel free to ask any questions using the Q&A feature. And please also be aware that the session is being recorded for training purposes. But without further introduction, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Brooke to get started.
Great, thanks, Sarah. As always, I'll start sharing my screen. And we are going to be living in the Alertus console today. I'm going to first log in as an admin, but I am going to be logging in as different types of users so you can see the difference between the user roles and restrictions when you set them. But when I log in as an admin, we will see underneath Configure System Settings, there is a section that's called Users and Access Rights. So two above that, there is a section called Settings. If you recall from a previous webinar, if you were at that one or have seen that one, settings are where you can manage specific console settings that affect all users. So these are going to be settings that you can set defaults for or enable or disable certain features. You can set some security preferences. All of that can be done here for everyone. So if, for example, your organization does not want to use rapid activation, you can deselect rapid, click save, and then if I come up here to the top again, I will see that rapid activation is gone. So, and that's going to be true for all of my users. So these settings, the defaults, the enable, disable feature settings, the security settings, whatever you set here, that's going to be true for everyone. However, possibly, most likely, you're going to have different types of users that you want to have access to the system. Some you want to be able to send activations, some maybe you only want to send presets. Some you want to view reports, some you don't. Some you want to be able to configure things, some you don't. And so that is going to be where users and access rights comes in. So in this section for users and access rights, this is where you can manage specific users, roles, and then user restrictions. So if you scroll down, these are all of the users that I have in my system. You can see the list of them here. This is their username that they would use to log in. This is if they are enabled and can log in, or if they are disabled currently and cannot log in. You also have given everyone a role, so everyone has to have a role. But then optionally, you can see that people can also be assigned a restriction. So one way to add new users is you come up here to the top, you click add new user, you give them a username. Most people just use the first half of the email address. Enabled, once again, is either that it is being able to be used or not. Then you have role, and these are customizable. So admin, preset only, and user are default roles that come with the system. But you can, of course, edit preset and user, and you can also add new ones. For this one, I'll just click admin for now. And then you can see restriction. I can leave as none because that is optional, or I can select a restriction, and we'll get to that in a bit as well. Then you put in the email address. And then you can put notes in here if you'd like to for the admin to see. And you can either invite the user to create a password, or you can manually create the password for the user here. So manually adding a user is as simple as coming here and adding them one at a time. If you wanted to, you also can set up Active Directory for adding users, and that lives in middleware. So when I go to middleware and I go to Alertus middleware settings, there's a section here for LDAP and Active Directory. So if I have this set up and I have specifically configured a connection and pulled in a specific domain, I'm able to then use that domain to set up logins for specific types of users. So if you have this set up, then on this page next to the username, there will be a little LDAP, I guess, insignia or sign right here that will let you know that this person has been added via Active Directory. So those are the two ways to add users. But then, of course, what are all of these things that you give users? What are the roles? What are the restrictions? So as you can see here, as I said before as well, roles are mandatory. You have to give people a role. With user roles, if you scroll down a little bit further, you will see the options here. These three do come standard with the system, and then you can, of course, add a new role if you'd like. But you can see for this user, I want to explore this user right here. My preset only role, if I come here, I can see preset only, and I can edit exactly what that role does. So when I go here to edit, I can see the name, I can see the description. I also can set a specific homepage layout. So what a homepage layout is, if I come back here to my homepage, when I log in, I have these different charts and different widgets that I can set up. And as an admin, if I want to manage those, I can manage my preset only layout to have certain things here. And I can manage my administrator role to have certain things here. And you can manage these layouts right in this section. So that is something you can do with roles as well. So when I come here and I have my specific preset only role, you can see that I have my preset only homepage layout. And then I get into my permissions. So what pages do I have access for on this black navigation bar? So I only can send preset alerts. I can cancel alerts, but I can't do custom. I can't do desktop. I can't do rapid. I can't override certain things. I can see all reports, but maybe I don't actually need to see all reports. I'm going to disable and I'm only going to see the alert history and attached reports and the system activity report. Dashboards, maybe I don't need to see anything there. I don't have any panic buttons that I need to worry about as a preset only user. I'm going to turn off dashboards and I'm also going to turn off my map. And then below is all of my configuration pages. And with the configuration pages, it gets even more customizable where you can set up view, add, edit, delete specific abilities and access. So for this preset only user, I just want them to be able to log in and not really play around with too many things. So I don't have anything set up here, except I think a best practice is to have preset alerts be set to view ability. And what that is going to allow me to do is add them to my quick access menu. So I come here to preset alerts. I have that set up on view. I have my send preset activations, cancel alerts. I have a few reports, but then I don't have anything else in here. I'm going to click save. And then this user, this preset only user, will have been updated and will only have access to the things I've given access to. As you can see, this user also has a restriction. So this restriction is below roles. And you can add new restrictions. You can, excuse me, you can edit. Actually, you won't have any default restrictions in here. So if you wanted to add one, you would come here and click add new restriction, and you would be able to give it a name and set up specific restrictions that you want. But let's explore exactly what I have for this user, which is my building one presets. So if I scroll down and I go to B. Petrozelli presets only building one, I can come in here and I can see which permissions and which access I've given these users. So right now, there is no restriction on units. There's also no restriction on groups, as well as no restriction on alert profiles. You can play with these if you want to. It is more so for different setups or different organizations that have a quite complex rollout of the system. I think a best practice for most users is just going to be to edit this fourth section, which is preset alerts. And you can see here that I do have only access to the ones that I've selected. And the ones that I've selected are only the ones that are my name, B. Petrozelli, and are only good for building one. There we go. Building one, building one, building one, and building one. So anything that is set for building one, this user will see. They will not see any of the rest of these. So if I have a lot of Sarahs in here that I don't want users to use, I don't have to give them access. If I have ones here that are going to all users or different buildings or test alerts that I don't want people to see, then I can give a restriction to restrict that. So I'm going to click save. And now we can see this user has both this preset only role and this user restriction. So I am now actually going to log out of my admin account. And I'm going to log in it as that preset only user. So when I do so, Now when I log in, my homepage looks different. I can see over here, I only have access to preset activation. And in my preset activation, I only have these four alerts. And then when I go under configure system settings and go to my preset alerts, I only have these four alerts. And because I've only given access to view preset alerts, I cannot edit, I cannot clone, I cannot delete, I cannot add, but I can click these stars and add them to my quick access menu. So when I do that, if I want to star all four of them, I can come back up here and then they're just going to be in this quick access menu for me to easily select. I also can go to reports and see my alert history and attached reports, as well as system activity if I want to. But of course, if I didn't want to, then I could just turn that access off for that specific user. So this is really handy for making the system as simple as possible for people that need it to be simple. So for your like dispatcher teams or your activators, you don't want to have them log in and be confused about what they see, not understand where they should go. If they're not in the system that much, you want to make this as simple as possible when there is an emergency, so you're not wasting time or someone does something wrong when when like tensions are high and panic is setting in. So you want to make this as simple as possible. You can only give them the few alerts that they need. They only can send presets. So all I would do is select the alert. I can click continue. We see here that it's just going to go to my desktop because I'm set to building one. Click send. And then once I do so, we'll see that I have that active alert at the bottom. It has been successfully sent in the system. And there it is on my.
Proceed to a secure location on the interior of the building.
I'm going to click acknowledge. And then I also have given this user the ability to cancel alerts. If I wanted to get rid of that for this user, I could disable cancel alerts in their role, but this person can cancel, which then I will come here and do. So lots of great uses for this. You most likely are going to be setting up users who need like are just your dispatchers or just your activators, or maybe just people that need to view the reports and restricting them. But you could also use this for certain admin. So let's say, for example, let's go back to users and access rights. You only have our HPSA outdoor system. You only have those sirens outside. That's the only thing you use Alertus for. But you have all of these other things on here that aren't that useful because you don't have desktop. You don't have fire alarms. All of that you don't necessarily need. So I'm going to create a role as a super user for my admin that are only HPSA. So I'll add a role. And when I do, I'm going to do HPSA admin. I'm going to give them the administrator homepage layout if I want to. And then I'm going to come here and see what I'm going to give them access to. So because they are an admin, I do want them to have access to everything around alerts. And I also want them to have access to the reports that are relevant. I know that we have alert history, groups, system activity, but we don't use locations, we don't have VoIP phones, and we don't use 911 Connect. So I'm only going to use those reports. Then if I scroll down, we only have the HPSA, so I'm only going to give the HPSA dashboard. And then continuing, I do want these people to see all of the alert devices, alert profiles, and alert services, but we don't have any contacts. We don't have any custom event triggers or desktops. We do have some groups, so I'll make sure that they can see groups. I can make sure they can edit the homepage. HPSA settings, of course, we want that. I want them to see the media for the HPSA settings. I want them to see the preset alerts, the preset types. Maybe they can schedule alerts and set some settings. And that's all. Oh, users and access rights. So now this admin user is going to have everything that they possibly need without all the rest of the stuff that isn't relevant. So I'll give them all access to system as well. I will give access to that for the HPSA admin. And then if I create, let's give this dispatcher user instead, I'm going to change this role here. And instead of user dispatcher, I'm going to give HPSA admin, no restriction, and save. And then let me log in specifically as that user. So I'll log back out. And then I'll log in as a dispatcher user. And you can see over here, I do have access to all of the activations. I do have access to the HPSA dashboard, and I can select the system here. I do have access to the reports that are relevant, as well as under Configure System. I have access to everything related to HPSA and users, but I don't have anything about desktops. I don't have anything about custom event triggers or panic buttons. All I have is stuff around HPSA. So this user is going to have good access to that. As you can see, there were some widgets on here that says I don't have permission to view. So I might want to change their homepage. So I could come up here and I could even manage a layout and give a specific ad layout for a HPSA admin. And I'm going to assign it to my HPSA admin. Okay. And then now that I'm managing this layout, HPSA admin, I can select the alerts that I want or the widgets that I want. So I can select quick access presets if I have anything here. If I do preset activation, I can then select the presets that I want on this page for everyone. So that's really helpful. I can go to reports. Maybe I want to see alert history. Maybe for admin, I probably don't have access to those here, but if I want to see support information, I can come here. So I can create whatever I want in this section. Maybe I will select, I know I have HPSA alert here. I will apply that, and now we'll see that that's up there at the top. So you have the ability to create these layouts for yourself and for those specific users. And then this user won't have any extraneous or things that just aren't relevant to their system. So I will now log out and I will log back in as an admin. Oh, actually, there was one more thing I wanted to show you. Regardless of user type, you're always going to have this support button down here at the bottom. So my dispatcher user, my admin user, and then if I log back in as my preset only user, I'll see once again that I only have access to the support button, but that is still there. And if I click on it, I will be able to get access to how to contact Alertus support if needed. I can get some information on my server version as well as any licensed features that I have. And then of course I have access to the customer portal. So that I can pull this in and then I'll be able to access all of the different resources that I have around creating users, around activations, anything like that. Um, so I believe that is everything that I was going to share. I'm going to pass back over to Sarah now to share some things from the customer portal. So when you go in and log in here, you will have access to the link she's putting in. We also have our upcoming webinars on our login page if you're ever interested in looking at those, but lots of great resources here. So I'm going to stop sharing now and I'll send it back over to Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you, Brooke. And like Brooke mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and put some resources into the chat. So that first link there is the user guide for the users and access rights page that we went through today. So that has all the information that you need to create new users and also update their roles and restrictions. And then I am also putting in the link to another article on our customer portal about the Alertus Console Settings page that Brooke showed at the very beginning of the session today. So those are the settings that would apply system-wide to all of your users, and that guide walks you through how you could edit those if you'd like. And then the final link I'm going to put into the chat here is the registration link for the webinar that we have coming up next Friday. And this will be a new session that we haven't done before, but this session next Friday is going to walk you through how to manage and activate your HPSA system from the CCU or the Central Control Unit. So if you all do have an HPSA system, I would highly recommend attending that power lunch since there will be a ton of good information there. And also, as a reminder, for any power lunches that you do sign up for, you will receive an email with a recording of the session. So you'll get a recording of the session today as well if you did want to look back or review any part of it. But I do not see any questions yet in the chat or the Q&A box. Feel free to stay on and put in any questions that you'd have or anything else you'd like us to take another look at. But I will also go ahead and close it out for everyone. So thank you all for attending today. Hopefully you learned something new, and I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. And thank you all for being here.
Of course. And we'll hang on just a couple more moments if there are any questions, but thank you all.